it and spreading the word and coming out here, and obviously it helps you too, but I think it's probably business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What angle would you take? And just like a best practice kind of thing, the closer you can keep it, the better.
Right here?
You don't want to be all up on it. But
Do you think this is good? Right here?
yeah, no further though.
Okay, like
Yeah.
in this range.
However, you could do it that's comfy, but still kind of serves a purpose. Yeah.
All right, I think this is good. I think I can do this right here.
Cool. But yeah, so what angle would you take with the business podcast if you did it?
If I did it, it would be only Kentucky small businesses. So again, why I was drawn to yours, and it would be basically the hardships, because I think that's interesting, is the hardships of business ownership.
Yeah.
You know, when you go on Instagram or whatever social media platform, you see the glitz and glory. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times, and I think if it's the truth, I'm very happy for these people.
Yeah.
But
what percentage would you put on being truth versus like what's being hidden? Or is that like subjective?
Oh gosh, honestly, to be a small business owner is such a grind. It is a grind, and there's so many highs and lows on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. I can feel my absolute best and then an hour later be at my absolute lowest point.
Yeah.
So I feel like 80, and maybe not, I don't want to say they're lying, but I think they're exploiting the best parts of a business, as they should. You know, that's the fun part. You don't want to tell everybody. I don't put on Harkness Edwards Vineyards.
What are you hiding here?
Right. Oh, there's a lot.
Let's get into it.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think as with a podcast, it's a good opportunity to talk to business owners and talk about the grind. And I love that podcast. I'm sure you know it, How I Built This with Guy Raz.
Yeah. Because
it's all about the hardships. And you will be listening to this wonderful brand. Maybe you're a customer of the brand, maybe not, but you know it. And at one point that person was sleeping in their car.
Yeah.
You know, but they didn't give up, and they were in that grind for so long. And I think that's interesting, talking about the hardships.
What's your take on that? Because if you're brand new, like there's so many different versions and ways that people tackle this, and I think it's really fascinating. TikTok has a big trend right now for people that are going out and creating a business, and they document everything that's happening. Hey, we just bought the new fryer for the kitchen. We just got the alcohol license. The electric went out, and we opened in 2 days, and we have no idea what we're going to do. So you have that kind of trend of people that are confident in the beginning of what they're building to show everything.
I think it's fabulous.
But then you have other people that are like, oh no, I got to only show the good stuff.
Yeah.
And if that same person that was hiding it comes out and they show the bad, they actually, I don't think it works for them.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you think is appropriate? Like, how do you know which way to go to show the warts and all the bad things versus only the good?
That's an interesting question, because I'm a big believer in the brand, right? Like really sticking to your brand. And so my brand personally, I want people to escape. I don't want them to think about problems. I want them to come out here and not have to worry about real life.
So you think if you show sort of the behind the scenes and things that are going on that are negative, it's going to seep into the overall vibe and the experience?
I think there's different platforms are good for different things.
Okay.
I think for Instagram, my Instagram following, maybe they want more of the escape. Maybe it's a different person.
Yeah.
I think TikTok has been so good for reality. And I think those, or reality, I should just put some air quotes, because I do think there is some flubbing around there. But I think...
You don't say.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this, but...
News to me.
Yeah. But I think that TikTok is better, I should say, for more real life, what's happening behind the scenes. I think it's a younger group of people who are more comfortable with putting everything out on TikTok. Now, my personal TikTok and Harkness Edwards TikTok, it doesn't show that.
Okay.
I will be fully transparent with that. I'm not saying, and for me, I just don't know if my people really want to see it. If they do, let me know, because there's a lot. You might regret what you wish for.
Well, you said target demo is like 25 to
55 women. Yeah.
So
who love the aesthetic.
I think you just described TikTok in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's true.
There's such a carryover, I feel like, between, but I do think you're right. We've started so many rabbit holes, and I want to go down every single one of them at the same time.
I'm good at
it's
that.
Like impossible. Let's back up.
Okay.
Let's back up.
Okay.
before we dig too much
Yeah.
more. So you were talking about showing some of the rougher edges and that sort of thing. Without getting into specifics, I'm curious what kind of challenges you might be facing as an owner. Not necessarily here's the brand, but just as an owner and the things that you go through.
Well, let's just hit it head on.
Okay.
Money.
Okay.
Money is not affluent.
The taboo thing that nobody wants to talk about.
The taboo thing nobody wants to talk about.
Everything, yeah.
You know, especially in my scenario, obviously I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my parents. You know, I didn't have the funds to go out and buy a 350-acre farm and put vineyards in and start a tasting room in a beautiful antebellum home, obviously. My parents did. So when people come out here, it's very romanticized of, oh my gosh, Nini has a vineyard and everything is beautiful, because I obviously portray that in my social media. And I want people to come out here and feel that way. I want them to just enjoy the beauty, escape. But when you open up the curtain and you look behind, it's hard making ends meet. Even when I have parents who come from a wealthy background who can help make this happen. I mean, it's not just throwing money at this thing. My business has to make money so we can pay the people to tend to the vineyards year round, and we can pay the employees. And it's really hard. It's not easy. And so that's always a big topic of conversation of, you know, how we are going to fund this, because right now maybe we're having a bad month, a bad week, a bad day. Now the next day or week or month could be great and we're on cloud 9, but it's not going to fund the whole year.
Right.
And that's really tough as a business owner. And that's something that I wish more people, as you said, it's so taboo to talk about. I'm sitting here with essentially investors, right? At the end of the day. And it's really hard. So if you are a small business owner and you don't have that, it's okay for ends not to meet and to have that conversation. It is really hard. I don't care if you were selling lollipops to school children.
Is it because we feel like our personal reputation is on the line, or is it the reputation of the brand, or both? Like, why don't we just openly come out and, hello, Mr. Ann. Why don't we just talk about it more?
I don't know. I really don't know. And I think, too, me doing this for so long, I've been doing this will be 8 years this January that I've been doing this. I'm so used to talking about money now. It doesn't really, I could talk about it on a Tuesday morning over breakfast and it's just a day. You know, I could talk about money all day, good, bad. I could talk about it. So,
but do you only talk about like with the closest people in family, or are you just?
I would talk about it with more people. Not that I'm embarrassed about it. Yeah, let's talk about it now. Let's talk about all the details. But I guess to your point, I'm most comfortable talking about it with my parents because it's what we talk about all the time. So, and I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. With you, this is a business podcast, so I feel like you're probably pretty comfortable talking about money and stuff. But no, I think you're right. I think there is a reputation of people want to make sure they drive a nice car, they have a nice home, and they have a nice business. You know what I mean? If they're a business owner, because they want to portray that they're winning at life. And I think my point is, if you don't have any of the above, that doesn't mean you're losing at life. Or if your business is going through financial strain and it's hard to make ends meet, you're still paying the bills and you're still keeping the lights on. And that's really hard. And I think that you deserve a pat on the back, a big pat on the back, if you are doing so, because that's not easy to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear of wealthy people that drive beaters that are 30 years old and 400,000 miles, and they live in a small, relative to their income, small house.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I guess we could try to put out there like what people should do.
Right.
But I'm never that kind of person to prescribe like this is the right way to do anything.
No, me neither.
Whatever's best for you.
Whatever's best for you. Whatever gives you peace and helps you sleep at night, do that. That's what I condone. But I guess it can be, with owning business, there is a lot of failure and there's a lot of falling flat on your face and picking yourself back up. There's a lot of, embarrassment because you might try something that completely flops in front of a lot of people. And to me, that's all a part of it. So if you are a person who wants to get into business, get comfortable with failing. And failing to me, as I'm sure you know, and if you're a business owner, it will result into winning. But you just have to keep going because it can be really, really tough.
I think a lot of times people get frustrated with the idea that they should have the perfect idea from the get. They also don't want to experiment in public.
Yeah.
And so that can be really tough when you're not confident enough in yourself to think that your idea is really going to resonate and do well.
Yeah.
So you don't go down that path of trying. Also, there's that lack of confidence and wanting to put that out in front of your brand, in front of people.
Right.
Potentially fail and be on the hook for having failed with your brand's reputation on the line. And then it's just kind of lost in this like circular thinking of how to move forward.
Exactly. And if there's anything about being a business owner, it's nothing more than a mental game, and you have to conquer it. Because if you're going to let other people's perceptions of you seize the day, you're never going to get to square one.
Yeah.
You might get to square one, but you're not going to get to square 1A.
So how do you push through that and putting yourself out there, putting a brand out there, trying things like you said before coming on here? Doing a podcast is not really a typical thing for you, but you're, new mediums and other kind of ways of marketing and getting out there is important to you.
It is.
And a lot of people don't try new things like that. So how does that show up for you? How do you get that confidence to go and try?
I would say, my first visceral reaction to this is I am used to embarrassing myself.
Okay.
Even when I was young, I was always embarrassing myself. And I mean, all of us did all of it. When we're young, you embarrass yourself all the time. But I kind of felt like I was just always kind of a quirky person, a quirky kid. And I grew up on a 300-acre farm with no internet. And I thought I was a dog till like 12. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. But I did. I was just weird. And so I just didn't have the neighborhood kids to kind of show me what was cool. You know, I didn't have internet. Like I said, I was just an odd little ball. So I'm very comfortable with being uncomfortable. I was like that ever since I was a little girl. And so that translates into business well for me. I use that as a superpower because, I'm very used to, people are going to judge me when I'm up and I'm down and I'm anywhere in between. They're going to judge you. They are going to judge you. So you might as well just do what you want to do, try something and fall flat on your face, because the people who are going to support you, they're going to be with you no matter what. And the people who are going to judge you, they're going to judge you no matter what, is what I've learned. So you have to just keep going.
Yeah, that's so true. How'd you learn that lesson though? Because I feel like you have to put yourself out there and fail
endlessly
out loud.
Yes.
And go, wait. I actually survived. I didn't die from this.
Right.
Everything's okay, and I can move forward.
Well,
I feel like that's when you learn that.
Absolutely. And I think beyond just the normal, like embarrassing yourself with a kid, just with this business, I'm trying to think of specifics because it happens all the time. I've put things out there, just events. So when I very first got started, there's no marketing budget. I didn't know what I was doing. Again, what usually business owners when they start don't. And so I would do things, I would do all these events that would fail massively.
And for the record, when did you start?
I started in 2017 and it was a complete disaster all the time because I really thought, so where my tasting room, where my brick and mortar is in the middle of nowhere. It's in the country. And I really thought at that time I was going to open up my brick and mortar out here in the middle of nowhere and people were just going to come. Maybe I'd post here and there. I just thought people were going to come. Man, was I wrong. I sat here by myself for weeks. Maybe a couple would trickle in. And, maybe I would have, when I was busy, I would have maybe 4 to 5 people come in on the weekend, okay? So we tried to do weddings, and weddings were fine. I had so many wonderful brides, but it was just something that I felt we needed to do because we needed money. We weren't really prepared for it. And thank God my brides were awesome, and they did the whole outdoor tent, and they loved it, and it was beautiful. But there was a lot of failures within that. And I realized, okay, after it was actually 2020, I said no more weddings. Okay. No more weddings. I just want to do tasting room. And I'm trying to think. Oh, the question was failure.
Yeah.
I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
So
all
there was
good.
just a lot of failure with that. I did a bunch of events, and
Mhm.
they fell flat on their face. Nobody came out here. Maybe
What does
two
failure
people.
look like? Describe that.
Failure to me looks like nobody's interested
Okay.
in XYZ except for me. So I'm here with bells on, just, hey, I'm here. Everybody show up to this wonderful event I have and this wonderful wine, and nobody's interested.
And when you say nobody, is it literally nobody, or is it like we thought maybe 100 people, but 20 showed
No,
up?
at the beginning,
So-
literally nobody.
Okay.
like my parents maybe would show up.
Okay.
And it really wasn't until, I'd say 2019 that it started snowballing a little bit.
And what was the change?
One, I realized I had to have events often. It wasn't just going to be, my tasting room is open.
Mhm.
Two, I realized I had to get very aggressive with social media because that was my only avenue to communicate with people. And I realized I had to get very serious about my brand and portray all the beauty that Mother Nature gives us out here and have
Mhm.
people want to come out here. I also realized, and this is going to be maybe a little, I wouldn't say controversial, but I could see people disagreeing with this. My marketing strategy is, have you ever heard the mattress strategy?
Maybe.
You're selling a good night's sleep. You're not selling the mattress.
Oh, yeah.
You're not selling,
Like
yeah.
Starbucks sells, oh my gosh, like experience. And,
Experience. Walt Disney,
Yeah.
they sell memories. They
You're
don't
right,
sell
yeah.
Mickey Mouse merchandise or,
Yeah.
and, things like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the wine. What I realized is the wine's wonderful. You have to have a good product. You have to have a wonderful product that people want to consume in
Yeah,
any
that's, like,
capacity.
foundational,
That's the
right? Yeah.
foundation. But the marketing strategy is not buy this wine. Here's wine, tastes great. Buy
Yeah.
this wine. It's not that. It's everything around the wine. It's the feeling. And when that one clicked for me, I was off to the races.
So what does that look like for you? Because again, to kind of describe it, a lot of people would market just the features or we got this many acres.
Yeah.
We have a tasting room. We use this kind of grape.
Yeah.
And, those things are important to the quality of the product.
Absolutely.
But it's not the overall experience that
Right.
you're talking about.
The overall experience here is, and kind of like I was alluding earlier, it's an escape.
Yeah.
I want people to, when they open a bottle of wine or when they come out and they experience my tasting room, they're escaping reality. They're not worried about what's happening in the XYZ of their life. Maybe they have some hardships they're going through, maybe just work, or maybe they're just stressed out for whatever. So when I started marketing, it wouldn't be the bottle of wine, but it would be maybe a fabulous woman pouring a bottle of wine. You know what I mean? And having fun and experiencing something that isn't reality. She's away from reality. Maybe it's a picture of the cat Peaches, lounging by a flower and just viewing that image. That means nothing about my wine. That doesn't say anything about the product, but that is the beautiful ambiance I want you to feel when you think Harkness Edwards Vineyards.
Yeah.
And then and that translates when you buy a bottle of wine of Harkness Edwards Vineyards, you're connecting with that ambiance. It's not so much the wonderful product that, like you said, that's base, that's level. You have to have that. We're going to create a wonderful product. And I still talk about it, but if you go on my social media, it's very far and few between that I talk about, look at this wine, you should buy this. It's $12.99. Here's the quality of these products. It's how I want you to feel when you consume that product.
So in a social media first kind of world, how did you embrace showing experience? Will you break that down a little bit more in like some of the details of that? I mean, a moment ago, you made it sound almost like if you have an elegant person that is pouring some wine, I'm guessing that means the clothes that she's wearing, the hairstyle, the like nails that maybe show up because of a close up, something like that. Like all these kind of details.
Yeah. So the question is, how do I portray that?
Yeah. In a
So-
digital format where I'm not in the room to really feel or smell or anything like that, but I can only see on a phone.
Okay, well, this is interesting that you bring up a few points for me. One, what I always try to portray with my social media is that, if I could sum it up with a bow on it, I would say casual attire, but elevated experience. And that's hard. because most people, when they think elevated experience, you think, elegance. And I'm not so much want elegance as I want elevated. So I want you to come out and I want you to escape in this elevated experience, but I want you to be comfortable, right? I don't want anybody to feel like they have to come out here in kitten heels.
Yeah.
I'm wearing boots right now. I want you to feel like you're having an elevated experience, but I want you to make it crystal clear. It's casual, it's comfortable, it's grandma's house, but you're having this cool elevated experience. So that's a hard thing to portray. Yeah. It's hard to communicate that. I think I do a good job. I think. Maybe you disagree, but I think I do.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what I think. At the end of the day, you said that the people that you're trying to hit are coming out here. Yeah. And that gives you the answer. And I think I do hit it. But if I'm understanding you correctly with the question, it's very farm. It's very agricultural based. I want people to understand that this is a farm. You're not going to come here and it's going to be this very posh experience. It's going to be country. Well, it's cows and all these things before, right?
It's country. So I do a lot of nature. I talk a lot about Mother Nature. I love Mother Nature. And so I really make sure that has a strong push. And laughter and love and friendship is something I really, and as cheesy as it sounds, that is something that I really try to portray. I try to portray love, acceptance. Anybody can come out here and have a good time. Anybody can come out here. You don't have to know anything about wine. I try to keep the wine talk very simple in my social media. Very rarely will you hear me say things like, notes of currant and, you might get a finish with a tobacco. I very rarely say stuff like that because it's intimidating to a lot of people. So I try to keep it very simple, very loving, and very agricultural and beautiful. And that is hard. It's hard to do all of those things under one brand, I'll admit. Yeah. But that's what does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
So 6-ish years that you've been at the helm. What are some of your proudest moments? We talked about challenges and things of that nature, but what are you proud of that's going on?
The proudest moment probably for me was COVID. Everything was shut down. And this is the only thing I personally do. I don't have another job. I do this full time. And kind of like what I was alluding to you all before, it's not one thing that I think my parents have done so well. They don't just, Nene needs money and they give me. I have to earn every single penny that comes through here. So if the business is in strain, me personally is freaking out because this is how I buy my groceries, okay? Yeah. So COVID hit. And the government, we had to shut down. Well, how I've been advertising my business is this beautiful experience. You come out here and
no more experience.
And keep in mind, I'm talking about the very beginning. This was when we couldn't, you couldn't even be outdoors yet. You couldn't go to a business and sit outdoors. Very beginning, everything was shut down. So I had to pivot aggressively and with the idea of I have to make money. So I can keep the lights on here and so I can pay my bills. So I did the adult Capri Suns, we called it, and it was sangria pouches. And I was the first one to do the pouches in Lexington. And we put the sangria in them. We did the cute little fruit. And I posted, hey guys, we're doing free local delivery. And $2 go to the coronavirus relief fund, every single pouch that you purchase. Oh my God, Brandon.
It took off, huh?
Exploded.
Everybody's chilling at home. They want to drink something.
Everybody was drinking. It exploded. So much so. So in my tasting room, we were printing out all the orders. And we had to line up all of the orders, all the receipts inside my tasting room, and it was snaking through the entire tasting room, all the walls, so I could see throughout the entire tasting room. We did so much sangria. Sangria was coming out of my ears. Yeah. We raised so much money. We raised in just the month of April, gosh, what was it? It was over $5,000 or something.
Oh, wow.
It was insane.
That's cool.
It was really cool. And that is the reason I'm here today. I can talk to you. It's because of that. And I was so proud of myself for that because so many of my peers who were business owners, and don't get me wrong, that was tough. Okay. Like, so if you are a business owner and you had to shut down or whatever, listen.
It's easy with hindsight to go,
it's easy
well,
with
it
hindsight.
didn't last that long.
Exactly.
Well,
you don't know that. So I'm not
idea.
sitting here, but I didn't succumb to it. I said, okay, here is my situation. I have to pivot and I have to figure this out because I have to go get another job. If I go 1 week without making money, I have to find money. So I made it work. And we did delivery for, I think, a year and a half. And we really, that was my proudest moment because we raised a lot of money. We kept us on the map. I didn't just lay down and take it. I really worked hard to pivot. And that was funny too. So one of my girlfriends, Kata Welsh Valdepina, she has a social media following. And I called her up and I was like, Kata, I don't know what to do. I have all these orders. We have to deliver. I don't know what to do. Can you help? So she came out and she just got on her stories on Instagram and she said, we need delivery drivers today. And I guess at that point, like you said, nobody was doing anything. Yeah. And she was like, okay, is anybody able to come out today? It's my best friend, Nini. She needs help, blah, blah, blah. I probably actually shouldn't be saying this on here because I don't know how legal this was, but it was COVID and we had to get people their drinks. So it was like 5 or 6 girls came out. We loaded up their car, double tapped the back. Yeah. And I'll be damned, every single person got their order. I mean, those girls could have come out and just drove off.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of trust right there and a lot of products.
There wasn't an interview process. Yeah. I didn't have time. I was like, cool, what's your name?
Listen, they came out in the middle of COVID to the middle of nowhere. Not really in the middle of nowhere, but you know what I mean.
I know.
To do a job. So,
right. And they got the job done and they really helped me. And I have a few of the girls still come out today and we laugh about it, how wild that was. Because they helped me for a few months and it was just... And they dropped it off all around central Kentucky. They took a picture of people's doorsteps, and like they texted them, just like Amazon. We got your order. Here it is. Yeah. And not one person said they didn't get their order. And I'm telling you, we delivered thousands upon thousands of pouches. Every single person got their order.
I don't want to skip past the process that you had to have in place to be able to fulfill and then deliver and then have no mistakes. Like, that's pretty
I can't
good.
Believe it. Jesus was on my side. Yeah. Jesus was helping me on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't want to skip past the vineyard was an essential working environment, I guess.
What do you mean by that?
Well, essential workers were allowed to work and you didn't have to shut down, or were you just working?
I don't know. I didn't check on that. I just did it. Sure. Yes, Brandon. Yes.
I'm just thinking the government's like, we need alcohol. We are not shutting this down.
At that point, it was chaos. Nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. There was no even rules then. You have to take yourself back to that point in time. This was when everybody was just pure panic. Yeah. That nobody knew what the rules were yet. They were just saying, stay inside. That's basically what they were saying. And so, it was pure chaos.
Do you feel like COVID is going to become... Now, I don't know if this is a fair comparison. Yeah. And this is totally subjective of me.
Give it to me. What's up?
But when I hear older generations talk about previous wars and like, back in like World War II, this happened and whatever. I was not there. I've never been in the military. I've never been to the places they talk about. I've never been a history buff to really fully understand what they're describing. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, it's in one ear and out the other. Yeah. The comparison being, do you think at some point we get to where, where the older generation, we're talking about, back in COVID and people are just like, we don't care, like whatever. Yeah. In one ear, out the other. That period was just so bonkers and short-lived.
Bonkers. Like, I don't know. I think so. I think it'll definitely make the history.
Are we already
books.
There? Yeah. Are we already over it?
But listen to your elder millennials, y'all. It was wild. No, I'm kidding. No, I think it will leave an impact. I think definitely on our children, maybe our grandchildren. I think it'll be definitely something talked about. It's so funny, though, because even now we're just a few years out, and it seems like such a blip in time. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like it was
I've got
just
memories of a moment.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like it really happened.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It just seems so, it was so interesting because I just feel like we so quickly, and again, this is subjective as well, just got back to normal after like all of the vaccines started rolling out. It was like we were ready to get back to normal. Nobody was stopping society.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm thankful for that in a lot of ways. I can see how some people maybe disagree with that, but that is a very good question. That's some food for thought.
Should we quit talking about COVID?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's totally part of your story. So like,
it's a part of my story.
I feel like we have to talk about it in some respects.
I will say this though. I feel like if I'm like just hanging out with friends or, you know, at a social gathering or whatever, and the topic of COVID comes up, it's still very fueled emotionally. Yeah. I feel like. And politically. And I'm not saying it's like anybody's fighting or anything, but you can still feel there's emotions behind it. Like, well, this is what I think, this is what we did, and oh my gosh, rolling their eyes about one group of people did XYZ or something. There's still, I think, especially with our generation, it will stay with us forever. Yeah. In some capacity. Even though, because I mean, I think time's funny like that. Yes, it was a blip in time, but still it felt like such an impact on our lives that was vast, you know?
I'm trying to think what I learned during COVID that continues today. And I think probably the biggest thing is to be quick to pivot.
Absolutely.
And just sort of live in now and figure it out. Yeah. And don't be too judgmental. And because
absolutely,
it was such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Existential moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we either do something or this thing dies.
Right.
Right.
It's funny too, because I have a few different viewpoints of it.
Okay.
I feel like it taught me to slow down. I kind of was thriving in a little bit of a sense, if I'm being honest with you, because everything had to stop. And we all had to sit and think.
We got a good excuse to do nothing. And have sangria pouches.
Well, while y'all were doing nothing, I was delivering. No, I'm kidding. My business was thriving. No, I'm kidding. But
no shade there.
No shade there at all. No, I'm totally kidding. I'm a jokester. But with beyond all of that, you know, yes, I was busy with my business, but all the social obligations stopped for me, and I'm a very social person, so it forced me to very much so sit and just think about me, maybe some past trauma I've had, kind of unpack some things personally. And I think it's so important just to sit in our own feelings and really think, because especially people have children, you know, you're running around so much, you're trying to get your business going, you're trying to keep up with all your friends and parents and all this stuff. And it's so easy to not sit and think and understand yourself. I think that was, and I think a lot of people can agree with that, of all of the awful things that happened around COVID, I think that was one of the positive things, just being able to sit with yourself.
Yeah. And I think sitting, it could be, so with what we do with video and marketing and social, I live on my phone.
Right.
Every day I wake up with some notification that's like, you spent 11 hours and 37 minutes on your phone yesterday.
Wow.
I'm like,
I know, me too. Me too.
I don't want to, but
right?
I do.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are moments in there where I am actively choosing to consume and not just work.
Right.
And in those moments, it is a nice distraction.
Right.
To just like, okay, I'm going to see what somebody else is making out here and not think for a minute. You know, it's my version of trash TV.
Right.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
But you're totally right. It's like when I think about sitting in silence or I'm going to drive from here to the grocery store with no radio and nothing going. Like that feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I have to think, okay, it's only uncomfortable because it's so abnormal to do at the moment.
Right.
So I should lean into that, make that actually comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Figure out, okay, what am I trying to avoid right now? Like, why do I feel like I need that distraction?
Right. Yeah.
It's not a comfortable thought for a moment, but then you lean into it and you start figuring out, oh, it's because there's XYZ needs solved.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to avoid solving it.
Yeah.
But when I think about solving it and it's actually solved now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can actually breathe.
Right.
And all that anxiety that went around it. And
you
it's all like
better.
from social, you know, like.
It is.
Figuring that out was because of looking at my phone so much.
It's so true. And it's sitting in silence. I suggest it for everybody. And it's not easy to find, first of all. Yeah, like, and I love that example of just like driving to the grocery store, even if it takes you 10 minutes, just to turn everything off and just be one with your thoughts and not get road rage at that same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. And it's just, and I think one of the reasons why we don't is because of that reason you just said, because maybe we don't want to face whatever demon we have or whatever trauma we're trying to work out in our heads. But it's so important. We have to. Oh, here comes Peaches, the cat.
Peaches.
Peaches is she's a special one. You might hear a meow. She always comes when the conversations get deep and lightens the moment.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
Thank you, Peaches.
Oh my gosh. So I do have a question about alcohol in Kentucky not being bourbon. Obviously, bourbon being the biggest competitor that you would have in that space, I would imagine.
Yeah. I have thoughts on that, but keep going.
Okay. What is it that allows a vineyard in such a spirit-heavy place to thrive?
I'm sorry. Is she okay?
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good.
Bourbon helps us.
Okay.
We are a very agritourism company, so I cannot tell you. It is definitely weekly. People will come here and they say they came for the bourbon and they've been doing the bourbon tours, but maybe the wife wanted to do a vineyard. So
a trade-off, like
so they come
maybe the
and
husband's doing the distillery.
And and that happens sometimes, or like it'll be a group will come, like maybe, you know, some couples and the women will come to the wine tastings, the men will go to the bourbon, or it'll be a couple and they'll go to the bourbon and then the couple will come here and do the wine as kind of a trade-off. So bourbon really does nothing but help us because it's been such a movement in our state, and we are lucky. Yeah, we are very lucky to have bourbon horses. I'll be the first to tell you. In terms of vineyards, I wish, and I'm going to say this because I think it's going to happen. If you go to Virginia, vineyards have exploded.
Okay.
I mean, they're calling it the Napa of the East Coast.
Why?
Government support.
Okay.
And leadership.
So nothing to do with agriculture, landscape, geography, none of those.
Well, yes.
They play a role, but
sounds
like money and
government support is how the government gave them funding and said, you know, we want this to be a tourism destination in our state, and we see the vision behind it. So let's go. And I don't know the ins and outs, or I would talk in more detail about that, but in a nutshell, that is why they were able. And I say Virginia actually in a positive tone, because the thing about Virginia is they have a very similar landscape as we do. And they grow very similar grapes that we do. Okay. So it's possible for us to have more of a lush vineyard experience as Virginia does. So if it were my way, I would have a vineyard on either side of my vineyard. It would be 3 vineyards right in a row, because it would be a destination. It would be a movement. People would come here and help. And in all business, and again, this is my personal opinion, and I have more fun with this mentality, so I'm going to keep it this way. I believe in the rising tide. Yeah. I don't believe in competition. Yeah. So I believe that if there's more vineyards around us and more people come out here and maybe they're a little bit more educated on wine, they're into the wine, it will be a rising tide. We will be more successful because of that. I've never had much luck with being a competitive business owner. Like I said, it's not fun, and it doesn't really get me very far. Right. It just doesn't. Like,
building walls will never bring more opportunity.
It never does. Yeah. And I wish, and I hear a lot of people say that, because like I'll visit the neighboring wineries, and I'll go to different wineries, one, to support them. 2, like I said, it does nothing but behoove my business. So I give them all the information I have, I give to them, and vice versa, mind you. So, but I'll see people out that maybe they come to my vineyard and they'll say little comments like, oh, staking out the competition or things like that. And I'm like, I got nothing but love, man. I got nothing but love. Like it's not, to me, I don't want to be competitive either. So if I come into this, if I show up every day to work and I feel this big competitive energy, it's not going to be fun for me. I'm not going to do it for very long. Yeah. I just want to give love and support those around me and the rising tide. I'm not a competitive person.
Yeah, I mean, you make each other's market.
Right, exactly.
You know? So if you fail or they fail or something, then the whole thing is diminishing, and then the the vibe around it is going away, and then
100%.
consumer base goes away.
Right,
So
100%.
you got to help each other.
You have to help each other, and that, in my opinion, that goes with all businesses, all businesses across the board. And so, really, to circle back to your initial question of bourbon, same concept. Because of bourbon, I would argue we know first and foremost that people like craft beverages. And we know that we have an audience who likes those experiences. So it has been done nothing but help us.
Yeah.
Now, I wish the government would give a little bit more money to us and not so much bourbon. That would be great. But I wish they kind of believed a little bit more in our mission. And don't get me wrong, anytime you pioneer anything, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Even though vineyards have been here for 20 plus years, we are pioneers in this industry, and it's going to take time. So it's not going to happen, and you have to keep pushing, and you have to keep supporting.
Well, and it sounds like you need the bourbon people on your side. It's part of that conversation, not just vineyards trying to rise up and say, like, we can do this too.
Right.
But if you get the bourbon people on your side and saying, like, no, you guys are supporting us really well.
Right.
But we really should be supporting wine as well.
Yeah.
Here's why, X, Y, Z, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then that would help.
And I'd say people of bourbon, and I'd say they would support us. I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't think they think about us a lot. We think about them more because they are such more of a presence in our state.
Yeah.
And again, no shade. I'm not expecting anybody to help us, but I do think that if I were to sit down and talk to anybody in the brewery industry and in the bourbon industry, anything like that, they would agree that we all help each other.
Yeah. Well, and with bourbon moving overseas to Japan and more and more, they got to find new and creative ways to keep the audience they already have, keep growing new ones, new product lines, new ways to collaborate. I mean, what are ways that a vineyard in a distillery could actually collaborate and share resources or something?
I mean, you've heard of, I'm sure you've heard of bourbon barrel-aged wine. That's probably one of the most obvious ways. But even just something maybe a little bit more outside the box could be even a wine and bourbon tour, a craft distillery, beverage, whatever you want to say, tour. Just having that on the same advertising source, let's say. So I'm saying this because they have a brewery trail. It's called the Brewgrass Trail. You've heard of that? You've done that?
I haven't done it,
but you know
I've
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then they have a wine trail.
I didn't know we had I'll tell you that. I don't think I knew that we had a wine trail.
Yeah, we have a wine trail, and it's the similar concept. You get the little, I don't think it's a passport. It's not a passport, but it's kind of similar concept. And you can check in and do all that jazz. Surely to God they have a bourbon one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surely to God they do. I don't know what it's called.
That's where it started, right?
I'm
the bourbon
sure
trail.
it started.
So
the bourbon trail.
With the passport.
And they have the passport with the bourbon trail. Okay.
Stamps or like punches. I forget what it is.
But I feel like we could, and again, I'm just thinking outside the box here. Never talked to anybody about this but you. I'm just thinking and speaking. You could have like a regional one, for example, and have like a Central Kentucky beverage trail, maybe something like that.
Something more integrated, agnostic to what the alcohol is.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be one way, just off the top of my head, that we could all help each other. And just if Lexington, for example, were to do one thing that said this was, look at all of our fabulous wineries, breweries, and distilleries, that would be interesting, maybe.
That would be
to
interesting.
collab, you know? And then, of course, we have the cidery, the what's it called over there in the summit? Weisbird, and I think they're great.
Yeah.
I think they're great. They're actually lucky because they're considered a brewery. They can be on the Brewgrass trail and the winery trail. So they figured it out.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe beer's coming here soon. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it all works together.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about couples in particular.
Oh, it's a great thing for couples to do.
Destination kind of things.
Yeah.
That mixture of of doing something he and she or, whatever.
I can tell you firsthand, so many couples come here and maybe one of them doesn't really drink wine, but they're excited to experience the countryside. They're excited to experience something new, and they always find something they like. They always find something to share. And that's not just Harkness Edwards Vineyards. I know that's anywhere they go.
Yeah.
And even and the wife will say, well, we just got done going to this distillery, and I don't really like bourbon, but we had so much fun, and they taught us about 1, 2, 3, and that's where it's really fun. So it's a really fun thing for couples to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not a tourist, if you're local, Kentucky, we are so unbelievably lucky with all there is to do and so much beautiful nature and just the distilleries and obviously breweries are exploding everywhere, but we do have a lot of really good breweries and we're very, very lucky for that. And you don't have to go get hammered. Honestly, people who come out here don't really get hammered.
First of all, when we talk about landscape, like, come on.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the view.
Isn't this beautiful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you talk about getting hammered, I filmed a thing for Buffalo Trace on Saturday.
Yeah.
And because they're doing new tastings.
Oh, that's cool.
Bourbon for beginners.
Yeah.
Kind of course that they're going to start doing on a more regular basis. There was a guy that was on the tour. Mm-hmm. I was hanging back taking video as the group was moving away. Mm-hmm. And this guy gets out his phone and he's looking through it. And I'm not thinking anything of it. He's doing whatever and I'm doing my job. And I just happen to hear things when I'm standing there. And the person he's with comes up and says, what are you doing? Because he's lagging behind. And he's like, I got to look and see if I'm trespassed from that building or not. Like Buffalo Trace.
I don't understand.
To see if he trespassed by law enforcement to say you're not allowed to go in that building anymore.
Oh, got it. Funny.
And all I could think of was like, first of all, strange, like that you're individually trespassed from a building and not the entire property.
People are funny.
And then second, like, what in the world were you doing? I just wanted to ask, but I did not. I should have.
Guilty conscious, maybe. That's funny.
It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Well, it honestly, too, like, I feel like that's one of the nice things about distilleries, breweries, and wineries. It's a very chill. It's not going to a bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very chill.
Maybe this guy thought he was.
I think that's what the thing was. And so and I make that comment about getting drunk because, well, you just think you come to Kentucky and you're just getting drunk all the time with all these wonderful craft. And betting horses. We're just sin capital, right? We're Vegas, pretty much. But it's so not that. Like, it's like every single time I go to any type of tasting, it's about the art of the craft, and it is enjoying an alcoholic beverage responsibly. But it's enjoying the different ways they style something, getting a little curious about, these are interesting grapes, or what types of hops do you use, or this is interesting hazy IPA, this is so different, or you distilled it some certain way. And it's really more about that. That's been my experience. I've had very little issues with people getting drunk, and that it's just not that vibe. And we also close at 6. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Got other issues.
I mean, we're not. Yeah. Nope. Everybody comes out here. They're very respectful, but that's been my experience most places, not just my place. And it's kind of funny too, because I'm saying all this, I'm so into my sobriety and respecting alcohol. I'm really not into, I mean, if you would have known me in college, if you're listening to this, I've turned my page.
Calling yourself out is important.
Right, I'm not going to call the kettle black because obviously we've been all young whippersnappers at one point in our life. But as an adult, oh gosh, no, I hate getting drunk. I hate getting drunk now. Yeah. And I'm around alcohol all the time, and maybe that's why.
Is it like you don't eat the food from the restaurant that you work in? Right. That kind of situation?
Probably. It's something kind of similar. Like, I truly respect alcohol and what it takes. And if I go to any establishment, I'm getting a very nice alcoholic beverage and I'm sipping it and I'm loving every single sip, and I'm not gonna, it's not Natty Light that I'm just crushing. Yeah. Like because back in college. Because you know what I mean? I'm doing
shotgunning.
Right? Yeah. Shotgunning. Oh God. Oh, memories.
UK is moving in today, so
that's
none
true.
of that is happening there.
None of that is happening now. People are very respectful now.
They are, and it's a dry campus. So yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's wild because it's funny how we all change as we get older. Because, back in the day, it was because I went to UK and gosh, we were all of us were wild. I feel like the youth is changing though. Do you hear
very
that?
much. Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's, not to bring COVID back, but I don't know if it's like a COVID period and coming to maturity and awareness and going through puberty and stuff. It's such a like vulnerable moment in history.
Do you feel like the youth is more serious? I was not serious. I had not a serious bone in my body. And I talk to young people now, and they seem so much more focused and serious. So I don't know your points on that.
This feels like a very complicated question.
Yeah.
And a very subjective one at that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, generations are still doing what they did. Mm-hmm. You know, the 90s and sort of late 80s fashion is coming back, oversized jeans, and, you know, all the things. Mm-hmm. So certain things are the same. Mm-hmm. But I feel like maybe just because it really is like the first real generation of only knowing the internet in a world with the internet and social media.
Yeah.
And social media at maturity, for that matter. Just that level of awareness of everything that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
Is something that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
At that scale. So I feel like when it comes to social issues, see, I feel like I'm like hesitating as I'm talking because I'm trying to find the right way to articulate a coherent thought on this, because I feel like it's so intertwined. Like when you get to political things, or you get to something like what's happening overseas in Ukraine and Gaza and other places, they are serious about wanting to be involved. I hesitate to really understand how deeply they're informed about the things that are happening to make an informed decision about that real strong opinion they have.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that I think people in general, now that social's been here for about 15 years, I think it's great that we all are a lot more informed in more real-time fashion, and it's harder to hide things.
Yeah.
I think it's great that we are involved and we have a certain level of awareness.
Yeah.
I do think maybe we are still early in our, not just, you know, Gen Z and younger, but everybody's engagement with social and that real-time nature, being aware of things that you never knew before, that were happening in real time on the opposite side of the world. I don't know if we still yet know how to deal with that. I agree. If that makes sense at all.
Yes.
Hopefully.
I agree.
I feel like I'm stammering
because
I'm trying to be articulate here.
Right. It's the Wild West still. This whole being so connected. It's happened so fast and we're all just barreling through. I have a way simpler answer.
Okay.
That's some food for thought.
An easier one is probably good because just like writing, I like to write it all out and then edit.
Yes.
But when I talk, especially here when we're doing something recorded.
Right.
I try to edit as I go, and it comes out, you know, kind of funky. Anyway, go ahead. Make it easier for us.
Okay, my easier thought is straight up camera phones.
Okay.
I mean, when I was younger, I was wilder than a buck on a full moon. And all we knew...
I've never heard that before. Okay.
All we knew...
I can't say that now.
I was wild. My poor parents, all three of us were just off our rocker. But there was no camera phones recording anything. So... it was just
so
hearsay.
Privacy, you could do things.
But you know what? I say this about me. All of us were like that. All of the kids were like that. We were all wild, going out. There was not a care in the world because nobody was recording us. Now, young people, it's Big Brother. They're being recorded every single second of every single move.
Yeah.
So now if you're a young person and you go out and you get wild and you make an idiot of yourself, somebody can be sitting right beside you and then post it.
It's on Snapchat, it's on stories, it's everywhere.
Posting it everywhere. So it makes you kind of mind your manners a little bit more. And so I think it is that, coupled with your point, we have so much access to all these awful things now, whereas how old are you?
36.
Okay, I'm 36 too.
Okay.
When we were younger, we weren't on our phones reading the news all the time. And I think, and don't get me wrong, like I think it's good. As much as I'm like, oh, it was so much fun being young, wild, free, and I cherish those things. I'm so happy that like I wasn't being recorded all the time, you know, but there is also another side of me. I was like, God, but my niece and nephew, like, they're so good. They are these really great kids that just, they're just, like you said, they're more informed. they're just good people of society already.
Yeah.
And I didn't hit that point until I was like 24. I was just really young. I was very immature. Until about 24. And then I woke up out of my haze, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like be a real person of society and like give back, you know?
There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, kids are forced to grow up now emotionally because of things like text groups, Snapchat, other things where bad things are being said about them behind their back.
Yeah.
And bullying is going on electronically in a huge way, and it's terrible.
I hate that so much.
The always on kind of nature, especially as a kid.
Right.
And never really getting that opportunity to just be you, figure out who you are.
Yeah.
You don't even know, like, be you isn't even a thing because you don't know who that is.
That's so true.
So you need that moment to kind of figure that out.
Right.
Live it, make mistakes,
right.
Figure out what was great, and then, okay, we've learned a lot. I'm now, like, in your example, you're 24.
Yeah.
You're out from school probably. You're out in the real world.
Yeah.
You're an adult. You start figuring out that, like, okay, first 18 plus years, things are given to you, whether it's in a classroom, you walk into a room that you were told to go to by a teacher that was pre-assigned to you with homework and all these things that were already done for you. Your job is just to fill it out, you know? But now you walk into a world where everything is up to you.
Yeah.
And
so true.
Yeah. I mean, I think about my kids and iPads and all the electronics of the world, TVs, everything that we have to compete with. And I mean, my son yesterday going to baseball, he's like, can I take the iPad on the way to baseball practice? I'm like, no, buddy. He's like, I'm going to be so bored. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah. Great.
You have to learn to be what you're calling bored.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I described before, like going to the grocery store and being afraid, like, you know, like you need to be able to sit at 6 years old and look out a window and see what's going on out there and be alone with your own brain for a moment and whatever thoughts are there and observe things that you've never seen. And I mean, now being mindful and very intentional with that stuff is more important than ever, I feel like.
Oh my God, it is. It really is. And have you seen those? I'm sure you've seen it. It's like they'll show like a 10-year-old today versus a 10-year-old, 20 years ago or whatever.
I haven't seen that, no.
Well, they do like videos. It's kind of a thing. I don't know if it's a big thing, but it's just so interesting because when we were 10, all of us were just little freaks. Like we didn't know what was going on. To your point, we were trying to figure out who we were. We weren't. If there was a picture taken of us, we just looked like little kids. Whereas now, if there's a picture taken of a 10-year-old, they look like an Instagram model, posing,
always
flipping.
On.
They're always on.
Every aspect is on. Yeah.
Always on. And it's like, dang, like when I was, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I thought I was a dog. You know what I mean? Because I was just romping around the farm, with no internet, by myself. All I had to entertain me was my 2 dogs. Yeah. And I just related with them the most. Yeah. I'm a big jokester. I shouldn't say something like that. I'm
you
joking.
Related to them the most.
I'm totally joking.
Especially during that time.
I wasn't that weird, but my point is, there just wasn't any internet to compare yourself to other people. And to your point with the internet bullying and stuff like that, because maybe there is a kid out there who isn't internet, Instagram model-esque, as you shouldn't be as a kid. Yeah. But you're getting bullied for being a normal kid.
There's so much good and bad from both sides.
I know.
I know. It's easy to say, like, no iPad ever. Yeah. No phone. You're not going to drive a car. You're not going to watch TV. Yeah. You read books and eat your vegetables. Like, it's easy to say that. Yeah. But then when the rest of the world isn't built like that, right? Your bubble is going to get burst.
Oh,
that
for
little
sure.
bubble that you've grown for them is going to bust really quickly.
Yeah.
Because they are not around you all the time.
Yeah.
They're going to experience things that maybe you didn't expose them to.
Right.
And now they don't know how to deal with that because they never had the opportunity.
Right.
You've never built boundaries and helped them understand how to navigate that.
So true.
And so, whether you like the electronic world or not, you have to embrace it.
I will say this, though.
Manner.
I do feel like the younger generation is a lot better about accepting, with all this being said about the bullying and stuff, I do think that's like the young kids who don't know what's going on. But I really feel like, and again, I could be wrong about this, the high school kids are a little bit more educated, and I feel like they're so much more accepting of individuality.
I think depends what pocket you're talking about.
That's true.
If you get to, I'm trying to recall high school, my experience, and then also teaching in it and understanding, little cliques that happen within organizations and schools. Yeah, I mean, there's a show on TV called Live PD. I don't know if you're familiar with this. The show Cops? It's that, but live in real time. My hometown, in fact, just up the street from where my parents still live and where I grew up, is a huge shopping center, outdoor shopping mall.
Yeah.
It's like always on this show.
Yeah.
And the show is almost kind of built around this at this
cool.
point. Well, not good.
Oh, not good.
We're
I
talking
got
Cops,
it.
right?
Oh, okay.
So,
I was thinking.
good
I don't
and
know
not
what
good.
I was thinking. Okay.
Not good in terms of.
Oh.
Here's where this comes from.
I gotcha. I'm with you
You have
now.
a pocket of kids that are in high school. They have high school problems, like minors going up there on Friday and Saturday nights to the movie theater area.
Yeah.
And they get dropped off, and it's daycare for them, from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. They're going up there on Snapchat and saying, like, hey, let's go beat up Johnny.
Oh.
And then a horde of people come up here, high school kids.
Yeah.
And they're using this technology to figure out where Johnny is, what time we're going to do it, what we're going to do to him.
Oh, my gosh.
And it shows up on things like TV. So
I hate that.
And that is not
Maybe
a dramatic or extreme.
Yeah.
That is happening everywhere.
Oh.
And when we see these, like, when you go to the mall and you talk about mall shootings and minor, like the new signs that are about minors being stuff comes from that.
Dang.
But then you also have the good.
Yeah. Where's Peaches the cat? We need Peaches.
Yeah, I know.
We need Peaches.
There she is.
Peaches.
Chilling under a tree. Perfect. But then you also had the flip side where, I mean, you had the Ukrainian war flipped on its head whenever Russians that were fighting in Ukraine were looking on social media and going, whoa, wait. Our commanders are telling us one thing. Social and my parents and my kids and whoever that I'm following are experiencing something else.
Yeah.
And the actual soldiers in the war are turning the tide because of social. Like, it doesn't get much more powerful than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Or just kids going on a TikTok and coming across. There's I forget, who's the person that puts like horseshoes on a horse? I forget
just
that,
like a
that title.
Yeah,
but,
if you wouldn't have asked me, I would have known it.
I know.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah,
that person. There's a guy, Christian. Can't think of his last name. He's in. Where's he? Australia. Pretty sure. I actually thought about having him come on the show to talk about this and the use of content.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so he's in Australia.
Yeah.
Way across the world,
Yeah.
and he's making content about helping. Sorry, he's not a horseshoe guy.
Okay.
He's I forget the name, but basically an equine like masseuse of sorts. Like he'll go up and
Cool.
I guess finds like the perfect pressure point and a way to release the tension and the pain in a horse's muscle.
Oh, cool.
And he literally it looks like he's doing nothing. He walks up and basically touches it and the horse is kicking like crazy.
Yeah.
Finds a perfect spot, stands there for a moment, and then lets go, touches the same spot.
Yeah.
Horse is just fine.
That's
and it's
really
like I wouldn't
neat.
know
That's
about
super
that.
neat. Yeah.
A guy in Australia, and kids are having that experience with other people making food or doing fashion or talking about history of some specific kind or a TV show. Kids are finding that all the time, just like I found it.
Right.
So there's a huge, positive part too.
Yeah, there's so much, and even just like a few things that we've said today. It's so the instances that we have said are so specific. There's millions upon millions of instances that are happening in different scenarios, and it's we'll never be able to wrangle it in.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Well, if we all keep, I mean, to end on this, when you're talking about the younger generation, I think intentionality and being mindful is increasing just in the zeitgeist in general.
Yeah.
People like Jay Shetty and all those, the Mel Robbins of the world and Tony Robbins and all these people that are coming out there with self-improvement. And, I think even being on all the time, as unhealthy as that can be, where it feels like you're chasing looking perfect or looking good or looking like you should.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit healthy in that in terms of like doing the work. I think it forces sometimes, how do I want to say this? I think there's going to be a confluence of self-help and positive talk and doing like leaning into you.
Yeah.
And just,
Just being you.
Being you.
Yeah.
Authentically you.
Right.
And also a little bit of that coming from the push of social and being on, forcing
100%.
that issue.
Does
that kind of make sense?
Oh, yeah. Because even, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, like all of the health stuff that came out when social media was starting to get big was so exhausting.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, it was like this super aesthetic hot chick or dude. And it's like, okay, so every single morning I wake up, I meditate for an hour, and then I drink a green juice, and then I go for a jog.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you felt shame for not doing, or an ice bath. And I finished the ice bath, and it was like, just the regular person would feel shame for being like, gosh, okay, I'm going to try to do that. And then you would stress yourself out more trying to do all these health things. And I don't know if that's also just getting older, just accepting like, I can survive. I don't need to do all these like health things. I love that. It's good to get some inspiration from it.
It sounds like the classic, no, that's what the young kids do.
Yeah.
But to your point, in sort of what I was saying also, I think we're kind of agreeing on that, which is like during COVID and this time of health becoming such a important moment and topic for us. Whether we wanted to adopt the, all the things in a morning routine, it's still just, it put the topic on the table for discussion. Yeah. And then, you pick and choose your battles and which one you want to adopt and what makes sense for you and which ones don't.
Exactly.
And I think that's the good confluence. I think I was trying to say.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, because so many people, they get so influenced, and at the end of the day, that's good to be influenced and maybe bad in some aspects, but at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. Yep. And every day when you wake up, you have to choose how you lead your day, and it's nobody else's responsibility. If somebody else is influencing you to do X, Y, Z, and it's bad for you, that's your responsibility to understand that and make you happy. And it could be totally different than what makes other people happy, and that's okay. And if you're just a weirdo and you love it, be weird.
Yeah, just be you, right?
Just be you, and
your
be
younger
happy.
self would say that, I guess.
Absolutely.
So this has been great. I like all the different things that we've hit.
We've covered a lot. Was I supposed to talk about the vineyard? We talked about
Did we talk about it? No, we did very briefly. No.
Okay.
No, we did. And this is how I prefer these to go.
Yeah, cool.
It is about the vineyard.
Yeah.
But more, I think, to the owners and in seeing a little bit of themselves in this conversation. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Lexington Business Show. Go right now, rate and review the podcast. It's how we grow and thrive and how we get more listeners and get to do a lot more cool stuff here on the show. Thank you.